Costa never once looked bothered by the rest of the field in Texas. In normal circumstances, this would be concerning to our points leader Andy T. But Wanmi has only attended 3 rounds so far, and as such, isn't looking like as much of a championship threat. Will he continue to steal valuable points from the Brits' nearest rivals? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Spa-Francorchamps takes us back to one of the circuits from the Lotus 79's era of racing. However, this car and track combo did not see one another in real life. To learn a little bit more, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchement have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round. Love getting here to Spa as this puts on some of the best racing out there in many of the series that we cover. But we've got the classic pits version, which doesn't really change a whole lot for us today, Ozzy. But what's it going to be like for the Lotus 79?
Well, Joe, I think it can have a great chance of providing great racing with the Lotus 79 too. I've seen some of the best races I've ever witnessed in this series have been at Spa-Francorchamps, and I don't think that changes today. It's going to be a very fast circuit, so you don't have as much downforce as you would think, but otherwise these cars have a great chance at providing some exciting events. I'm looking forward to tonight.
I am as well. Now let's take a look at the driver's standings. I mentioned Andy T leading things. Seppa is not too far behind. It's a very close fight between himself and Finn. And Vanio Congas has drifted back slightly. Ascarina is in a nice little tussle for the 3rd spot in the championship. Just 7 points between himself and Ascari. And then you've got Alex Millward with something of an up and down season. He's in 5th. He could climb up there. We've seen him with pace, but can he get himself some consistency to try and truly insert himself into the equation? Let's take a look at the Classic Teams Championship while we wait for the laps to come in here in qualifying.
Yep, it's Scuderia Ferrari in the lead of that one, 17 points ahead of Renault. So Seppä, Vainiokangas and Rotkrans are trying to hold off Vaskilampi, T and Pasillas. John Player Team Lotus rounding out the top 3 with Alfa Romeo 4th and Arrow's Better Racing Team in the top 5.
In case you're tuning in for the first time, here's our race details as well. This is a 21-lap race that they're going to be running today. And if you're not familiar with iRacing, an open setup means that exactly what you can do in the real car, you can do here in the sim to tweak the car to your liking. They do have an incident limit. That is going to be very important today. An incident on iRacing is an off-track, spinning the car, hitting another car, hitting the wall, and things such as that. If the incidents rack up at 17, they'll be given a drive-through penalty. At 25, they will actually be disqualified from the event, and that will be immediate. They will not have any chance to protest it or anything like that as we wait for the qualifying times to come down. It takes a while to get around here, even in these Lotus 79s. But before we get to that, a reminder that you can advertise with us here on GSRC. So if you'd like to see your company shown here on the screen, on the channel, all you got to do is go below in the YouTube description where we've got a link to tell you a little bit more information to get your branding seen here all over the world. So we've now got Tomas out on lap 1. And we see Gernot Frische, multi-time champion, coming around with that famous number 1 on his car. His iRating, for those curious, these days, even without winning as many races, is still over 8,000.
Yeah, that's just insane. The amount of grinding he's done and the amount of winning he's done over the years. It's spectacular being part of this series for the whole decade and always being there as the driving force, an important member of the community, an important member as a driver as well. And, you know, when you beat Gernot Frische, you know it has been a good day. Now, interestingly, Joe, we are on the classic version of the track and classic pits version. And that's something you brought up early on. Now, for the qualifying, that's going to mean the lap actually starts on the rundown from La Source instead of the pit straight. You run down from La Source, the old starting point, and that means you can take a very curious line through La Source and actually win yourself a little bit of time if you're just heading to the fast lap. And on a historical note, Keke Rosberg did exactly that in 1983 when Formula 1 was there. He actually turned left on La Source, run up the exit road about 200 meters, turned his car around and took a little bit of extra speed, and then he took a Rouge flat out.
Wow. I'd be curious to know what the stewards and the other competitors thought of this little creative line there as we watch Andy T come to take his first time lap down and across. It's going to be a 2:05.1, and that will put him into 4th. Tomas Simon is currently leading the way. Rina is actually behind him by almost 4/10, so it's a decent gap between our top 2.
It is Gernot coming over the line as well. His first time will be a 2:05.2, so not too bad for Gernot. He's starting to get his feet back under him after almost a month-long absence. Gonna put himself to 8th place right now with Steve and Marco going ahead.
Bycroft was in 6th and then bumped down to 7th almost immediately. What about Millward? Let's see what Alex has with him today. He gets to the line, and it's a 2:05.5. That's not going to do him too good. He'll start in 9th if he does not improve.
Yeah, so Alex Millward once again being a little bit inconsistent there. And I think it's going to be, as Lost Olsen makes his way across the line with a 2:07, I think it's going to be Tamas who is the first one to go across the line. By the way, Oskari will not have a time on his second lap.
And Olsen puts himself into 18th. We should note that this is the top split that they are running today. For those who are not familiar with iRacing, this essentially means that the drivers are split into 2 events, and they are separated by the iRating that we mentioned Gernot Frische having. That's why he has the number 1. He has the highest iRating of the field in this event that we're witnessing. There's a lower event that is happening at the same time that we just don't have the means to cover, unfortunately. As Keith Herner is going to be the next first one down to the line. We're watching Simone, our pole sitter. Herner's second lap was not an improvement. So Simone, as the number 2, gets to the line. Can he go faster than a 2:04.6? No, he's about 3/10 down.
Yeah, so the second lap was not an improvement for Tamas. How about Pekka Kelahara? He's down there in 20th position with a 2:07.23. But he has chances for improvement at least. There's 3 seconds to be found. Can he find them on his second lap? Here he comes across the line, and no, a 2:07.5. So certainly the first lap proving faster here.
And a development that we had failed to notice, Juan Costa just completed his second lap. He's mired down in 16th. Both laps were incredibly off pace for Costa, considering the stomping that he put on last week and his pace in warm-up that I was watching before we went live. This is absolutely shocking. I'm not sure if he's going to climb through the field or if this is genuine.
Yeah, that's very surprising for Juan Costa. Let's see if he had any issues. I didn't notice anything special. 265 k's an hour on the start-finish straight.
I think Edwards might be our last driver to put a time in here because we got 7 seconds left. Oh, looks like Laus Olsen's just going to sneak in, but he doesn't improve. So that sets our grid for today. And Tomasz Simon will be starting on the pole with Ascarina in second. You've got Friedton Kate in third, followed by Severi Seppa. That'll be P4 for him. Andy T all the way down in P5, but he's been rifling off decent finishes all season long. Marco Kela is in 6th with Steve Bycroft in 7th. Gernot Friesche down in 8th. We've seen this a lot, but he tends to slowly pick them off as the race goes by. And then Alex Millward will be 9th with Carl Villeneuve rounding out the top 10.
That is the top 10, and in 11th place, Peter Konieczny. Alongside him will be the Norwegian, better known from the Lotus 49 series, Uwe Trengride. Eetu Vainio-Kangas starting 13th, surprisingly low for him. Paul Williams 14th. Michael de Turk 15th, with Barry West starting 16th, and Juan Costa 17th. Apparently, he was qualifying with race fuel by accident, mechanics making a bit of a mistake. Dennis Shanning 18th, Tony Garcia 19th, and Lars Poulsen gonna be rounding out your top 20.
Kelahara in 21st will be followed by Armando Edwards in 22nd. Then it's Keith Herner, John Eddowes, and Timothy Reed, the last drivers to put qualifying times in. Roelveld will be gridded at the back of the field, the only driver that did not get a qualifying time, which is not too surprising at a track like this where the off tracks are easy to rack up, and those completely discount your qualifying lap that you're on if you go beyond the bounds. Very much like what we've seen at Imola this week with Formula One. They are strict here on iRacing with those boundaries. We're waiting for Oscar to come out. Here we go. He is on the grid. So the lights will come up as the engines now start to rev here at Spa-Francorchamps. Green flag is out. Shimon has a decent start. It's a horrible start for Friedton Kate, who already loses out to Andy T, slipping into 4th by the time they hit Eau Rouge. They're mostly starting to string out and get single file through this fast uphill corner, but now they're going to come back at him as they approach Lecum down the run of the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, so fanning out on the Camber Straight, and for the first time into Eau Rouge, everybody clean through Eau Rouge, which is an achievement, and everybody clean through Lecombe as well.
Andy T had a big dive around the outside of Seppa, but it did not work out. Looks like we got a few drivers side by side coming out of Malmedy, still fighting down into Rivage, and certainly some fierce going-ons in the mid-pack as the top of the field gets strung out, single file, starts to pull away. I see Friedton Kate with Steve Bycroft already threatening him as they approach Puhan for the first time and swing it downhill.
Yeah, so Freak locked up his brakes going into Rivage, and then he was overtaken by Marco Kela in a nice move, and now is under threat from Steve Bycroft. Not the best of starts for Freak, who is usually fast in qualifying and then slips down in the race. Let's see if that's going to be today's development as well. And I certainly hope Steve is going to have a better race than he had at Poland.
Off of Stavilo, and they are certainly showing their skill with this being the top split. They haven't had a single incident throughout the field. For the first lap at Spa, that's actually quite a good achievement. They come down through Blanchimont. Shimon is holding Rita at bay. Hasn't really had any chance to attack since the start of this race. They break hard down into the bus stop, as I think we've had our first incident. Tony Garcia, I think, lost it through Blanchimont.
Yeah, he did. So unfortunately, he is out of this race, but everybody else getting clean through and onto Lasor's hairpin. And first lap will be complete with Shimon, Rinne, and Seppa in hot pursuit. And Andy T trying to get into the draft range. This is so important. You have to be within 0.6 of a second when you get up to Kemmel Straight.
An update on Garcia. He got a little bit of contact with Dennis Shaning. It was just ghost contact, so unfortunately the internet not playing nice with him as we watch from Andy T. And the number 5, he is dropping back. You're right. This is not looking good for him. at least in the hopes of maybe taking more positions. If he doesn't grab onto this, he could easily lose touch with the podium.
Yeah, so it's all about what Rinne and Seppa will do on second and third place. Rinne not having much of a straight line speed advantage, but he is still hot on the heels of Tamás Simón, and we know Rinne, he's a feisty racer, and these two guys, they have plenty of history, so I don't think Rinne will just, tend to follow the Hungarian home or anything. He's gonna take this to a fight. It's just a matter of finding the opportunity.
This front group actually goes quite a ways back still. Down to 11th from first place before you get a major break. That's Carl Villeneuve in the number 14. Behind that, then De Turk starts the second train. Coming through Fanyes, and it is still the closest fight amongst the front between Andy T and Marco Kela for P4.
Yeah, and he is now in a precarious position where he is losing a bit of time in the corners due to the dirty air and trying to get the car under him, and he is not gaining anything on the straight because it's a draft train in front of him, and that gap is expanding. It was 7/10 when they went to Kemmel Straight for the last time. Now it's a second to front, and Marco Kela, he's getting the draft, and he's gonna try into bust up maybe. He's looking, but that's too far.
Yeah, just tried to get in the mirrors of that Renault. As he gets awful close to the gearbox, at least under braking. The top three, look at them snaking across the line down towards La Source, trying to do anything he can to cut off that slipstream. Simón really doesn't want to be carried along these two, even though he hasn't been threatened quite yet. Starting lap 3, let's see if he can do anything up through Eau Rouge. Can the wake maybe get Oskari off of that gearbox?
Well, Oskari didn't lift much at all through there, lost a bit of speed due to the uphill, and he's gonna be very close here, Joe. Is he gonna look inside or outside? That's gonna be the question.
Taking the racing line, Simón doesn't defend. Oskari doesn't attack either, though. I think he could have had a shot if he was hungry, but he decided not to. So they stay in order. Simón, Rinne, and Seppa are leading the top three. By the way, for fans of Juan Mi Costa, he is still stuck fighting Michael De Turk. So he is in that second group and has really lost touch with the leaders.
Yeah, and I just hope he doesn't get too aggressive, trying to get past De Turk and making that rookie error of having a fast car down in the field and getting too anxious too quickly. You can make good progress as the time goes on. We are still only on lap number 3 of 21, but he still needs to get past the Turk quickly because that group in front of him, it's getting away, and so far they're not fighting, so they're actually gapping Costa as these corners go by, and Costa is really aggressive on the entry with his usual style, but De Turk is doing a good job once again. I think he's becoming a sort of the midfield defender here, Joe.
Yeah, big slide coming out of Fanyes for Costa that time. You got to be careful about those tires. It is a cool day out here. It's 73 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface currently, only 23 Celsius for the metric folks out there. Now coming down to Blanchemont, this is looking good for Costa. He's right with him. Does he send it up the inside into the bus stop? Defensive move from De Turk down into the chicane. And he's good on the brakes, holding back Juan Mi Costa. Maybe setting him up for the exit off of the bus stop. He tries for it, but the wheel spin is going to deny him.
Yeah, he caught the curb on the inside in bus stop, did Juan Mi Costa, and that's why he couldn't get a good run. So he's getting a bit anxious. That means he's going to have to wait until the long Kemmel Straight to get his opportunity. Now, he might want to actually lift before Eau Rouge. You want to lift here if you're this close to get a better run up the hill through Radillon and 10 up the Kemmel Straight, getting a nice run. Okay, he's very close right now, and I think this should be a slam dunk unless he lacks completely the speed down the straight line.
Looks like he's got it decently. He's going to get a nose ahead, but he's on the outside. He's trying to squeeze him a little bit. Now he gets back to the racing line. They bang wheels into the corner. De Turk is trying to hold on to the car. It's slipping all around, and Costa is finally able to get the job done. That moves him into 12.
Yeah, they banked wheels on the entry and they banked wheels to the middle of the corner as well. But finally, Juan Mi Costa was determined to make that work, and De Turk gave him just enough room. Didn't squeeze him off the track, but didn't make it easy for Juan Mi Costa either. And now Uwe Trengeride is joining the battle as well as Barry West.
Yeah, I was kind of watching Trengeride earlier because he was watching from the back and didn't try anything as the two of them were fighting, but he was awful close. The Turk is going to have a whole string of cars to defend. We'll come back to him in a little bit. So let's glance at Shimon, Rina, and Seppa, who have been holding on to the top 3. But Andy T is keeping it at just over 3/4 of a second behind most times this gap. So it isn't dire, I think, for the number 5. He hasn't been gating, but at least he's been holding station.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't dire straits. He doesn't have to spend his money for nothing, I think. So, you know, he's going to have to be a salt on the swing later on in this race if he wants to fight with his band of brothers. But, you know, Oscar Rinne in second place, he's in a curious position in that he is now starting to feel that understeer a little bit. And so is the leader, Tamás Simon, and so is Severi Seppa. The car usually enters a bit of, let's say, I call it the calm phase, where after the first couple of laps you got the speed, then you have to calm down, the car starts to understeer because it's heavy and the tires are no longer at their best grip. They will still hold on at this grip for a long time, but right now it's not the time to make moves, the car won't work now, so they have to just ride it out, don't get too anxious, and I think Shimon and Rinne are gonna take advantage of this pace and are dropping Severi Seppa.
Yeah, and you can see how close Rinne got as we rode on board. He was within 0.2 by the braking zone. Decided not to attack. Oh, a little bit wide here from Shimon, maybe trying to square off the corner. He does so, but he certainly opened himself up on that corner entry.
That he indeed did, and that means, you know, he's got the confidence at least to take the optimal line, but you're starting to see now the car of Tamás Simon getting a little bit wider through those corners. You know, he's starting to extend the line a little bit, starting to take maybe a bit of a risk with those off tracks, and Oscar Rinne in comparison, he's staying a little bit tighter. It's not much of a difference, but there is still a difference to be noticed with those guys, and once again, as they head to the back straight, it's gonna be Oscar Rinne still in hot pursuit, and the gap is 0.4 of a second, and it's been there pretty much throughout the race. So, you know, Oscar is just biding his time now. He'll know that if he stays there, the opportunity, it will come.
You can see how big the gap is behind them at this point, braking yet again down into the bus stop. And behind them, you know, we've been watching Andy T and covering whether or not he can catch those top 3, but he's been pulling along Marco in the number 4 ever since the drop of the green. And so far, it looks like maybe Marco is playing nice with him. I wonder how long he's going to be willing to do that, though, considering he can see ahead that they're losing touch now.
Yeah, he can see that they are losing touch, but he can also see that they are catching Severi Seppa. So it's a double-edged sword in a sense that, okay, the leaders are getting away, but do they really have pace to match the leaders? Or should they just try to fight for the podium, which is coming to them? And if he starts to interrupt Andy T's progress, then that podium will get further and further away. And I know the third place is a great result for both Andy T and Marco Kela, as well as it would be for Severi Seppa. So, you know, I think it's gonna start to break into two groups where Shimon and Rinne are having their own way and having their own pace, and then the fight for the last spot on the podium is going to be between Seppa, T, and Kela.
And T really doesn't want Seppa to get away, mostly because of the championship. He's going to lose points, and there's only 7 points between them. Meanwhile, a little bit farther down, starting to see a little bit of a train forming behind Alex Millward. He's got Manuel Congas and Frisha behind him. In fact, Eto is all over that gearbox now with a great exit coming off of Puhan. Defensive move down to Fanyes as Alex Millward's not going to let him have that one easily. The over-under potentially. Manuel Congas really trying to push the car hard to get him something here, and it's not working out.
Alex has no grip. I'm not sure why that is, but Alex just has no grip in the corners. You can see him missing the apexes. That car is very wild throughout the corner. I don't know if he has too high of a ride height or if he picked up underbody damage or something, but that doesn't look like a healthy race car. And Eetu, in comparison, he is in a much better position now to make something happen, and it's now a matter of getting the opportunity to pass Alex Millward. He's going to try the braking here to the bus stop, but Alex is able to brake later, and as such, hold on to 8th place for now. But it's not only Eetu harassing Alex, because behind them, look who's that. With the number 1 on his car, it's the Austrian Superman.
Risha's been watching. I'm surprised he didn't try anything in there, because it certainly seemed like Eetu was all over the track, just sliding the car everywhere. They come down towards Eau Rouge. They've split apart, but this could be good. You were talking about backing up to get yourself the run up the hill, and Ronnie Okangas has got that. Here we go. Millward, will he defend once again? He stays to the racing line. He doesn't hold the inside. He seems to feel confident about this one, as the Finn is now wheel to wheel, and they bang wheels before they even get to the braking zone. Down into the corner. Almost off the course both times for Alex Millward. They are going to tangle. Millward falls back as the Finn takes 8th by force.
Wow. That was amazing job by Eetu, and Alex tried to dive it into reverse, but that was all on Alex, the banging wheels. He was trying to squeeze Eetu off. Eetu wouldn't budge, and he doesn't have to budge. So on a straight line, Alex hit Eetu, which was a little bit clumsy, and they banged wheels once again. Then on the exit of the corner, Eetu had the smallest of margins between Alex's car and the end of the road, the edge of the track on the right side, and he still powered through. So that was great determination by Eetu Vainio-Kangas to make that move, as we watch the battle now for 4th place.
And Marco is now shouting polo very close to the ear of Andy T. He is about a 10th back at a spot where the slipstream is going to start to pull him in, hand over fist, up towards Blanchimont, the fast left-hander at the end of the lap. Coming down towards the hard braking of the bus stop. Does he send it in? He's not quite there, and a defensive move from Andy T is going to make it all the harder.
Yeah, so Andy T, he's going to have to really, really bite his lips on this one, as Marco is applying all sorts of pressure to him. Marco being surprisingly fast today. We know he is capable of top 10 finishes, but right now he's battling solidly in the top 5, even for a 4th place against our championship leader. And he now has a great opportunity once they get to the Camel Straight. He's far enough into Eau Rouge. I don't think he's going to be backed up down here. Now just get a great exit. He will. Andy makes a mistake through running on, and he's a little bit gutted about that one. And now on a straight line, Marco will have a chance if he has the straight line speed, but he does not.
And there was a little bit of chatter from T towards Marco. I didn't fully catch it. I think it may have been about the straight line speed between them. Oh, behind them, is Frisha going to be able to make a move? He's to the inside of Villeneuve. No, it's Carl who's attacking, I think, here. Frisha on the defense.
Yeah, Carl Villeneuve was trying to make a move, and Alex Millward has gotten past Gernot Frisha on the last lap as well, after Gernot had at some point passed both past Millward. So actually, after the end of last lap, Alex Millward was 11th. Now he's back to 9th place. Gernot was 10th. Gernot was 9th. He's now back in 10th, and Villeneuve is 11th. So we're going to see a replay of that here, Joe.
Yeah, we're getting word that it was 3 wide for a moment. Here we go. Down the Kemmel Straight. There is space to try and make it work, and Millward was gutsy enough to insert himself, and that's going to get him the 2 spots just like that. Nicely done.
Yeah, that was a nice move, but you need to trust your fellow drivers. And, on one side you have Carl Villeneuve, which he doesn't know that well, but on the other side you have Gernot Frisha. And he is the kind of man who is not, gonna take the room away from you. And meanwhile, Joe, I think you're seeing something with Andy T.
Yeah, Marco, once again, he started to climb, and then even with the slipstream, he was not getting past Andy T. He should have had an opportunity into the bus stop. Look at how close he is to the back of that Renault, and still the number 4 has not even made an attempt yet that we've seen.
No, and I think the problem with him is that he can't really find an opportunity because he doesn't have the straight line speed. And even if you get him under braking into La Source, for example, the hairpin before the start finish line. Yes, I said before the start finish line in this track configuration. So he will just get repassed down the Camel Straight. So his opportunity maybe is get a really late braking move to here, Lacombe, and then create 6-7 tenths of a second of a gap before the next long straight. That is his best opportunity. And Andy T is getting really sideways on the braking, making sure Marco does not get that chance.
Ooh, a little bit of a mistake from T coming out of Malmedy. And Marco still doesn't attack. He's going to look to the inside as once again, the grip on those tires for Andy T seems to have completely gone away.
Yeah, and this is the stage of the race when if you have been abusing your rear tires too hard at the exit, you're gonna feel it. And the problem for Andy right now is that he's coming up to a series of fast corners, a series of, places where you can't really save your tire. So the next chance is down this straight. He's gonna have to adjust his brake balance forward a little bit, or alternatively soften up his rear anti-roll bar to get away from that oversteer effect that he is right now feeling. Oh, and mistake, and Kela is through.
Was it a mistake, or did he let him through?
It was a mistake. He locked up the brakes on the entry, I think.
Okay, so Marco now has clear air. What can he do with it is the question, because Seppa, all that fighting has allowed him to run away. Looking once again at Alex Millward, who finds himself leading a trio. Frisha behind him, along with Villeneuve. They've gone 3 wide once before. Frisha closing in a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be able to attack down into the bus stop. Yes, indeed, he's going to have to sit and wait in Q10, at least for the time being. Both of them sending the cars very hot into the corner.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Alex Brewery Ward by the end of this race, the way it's been going right now. Gernot Fritsch out hot on his heels, Carl Villeneuve joining the fight. And so, behind them is Juan Costa, who has caught up to this pack, and he's going to be fast.
That time, that was too much slide coming through the source for Millward. Frisha gets side by side, but it's going to be a game of chicken into the corner. Neither of them willing to give up. Millward holds on to the spot. Frisha is severely compromised. He tries to cover off Villeneuve, who also has to lift as he unfortunately took the line away. And behind them, here comes Juan Costa, who's gotten himself up to 12th now.
He is, and he's looking to the inside of Villeneuve as well, but Villeneuve not budging. He was not quite close enough. Juan right there. And Gernot, wow, that was really brave. Gernot and Alex taking it side by side through a rouge, neither of them lifting, and Gernot just running out of racing line a little bit, had to concede that battle. Alex had a chance to create a bit of a gap, but look at the car. He's once again really sideways, and I wonder if him and Andy P have a similar style of setup here, the way their cars have been acting, because, both Andy and Alex really struggling with the grip at the midpoint of this race.
We missed it, but Andy T slipstreamed right back by Marco Kela on the last lap into Lacombe. So he is by once again.
Yeah, and that's the problem I was talking about earlier with the lack of straight line speed on Marco Kela's car. He has a little too much wing, and while he has the advantage in the corners down the straight line, that 1 kilometer long camel straight, Marco Kela is just a sitting duck, and Andy, when he gets a draft, if he just stays close enough, he's gonna make the move work again and again. So Marco has to do something decisive here in order to not only get past Andy T, but also to create a gap so that Andy doesn't get it back.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay, because credit to Marco, he didn't give it up. This actually went on for a few corners once he got past. Let's see if we can get that spooled up here. Here's the initial overtake with the easy slipstream, and this goes all the way to Rivage between them. There goes T, looking around the outside. Marco actually ducks in behind him. And watch this. Wonder if there's a little bit of a slip up here that allows Marco to have another shot at it. Oh, he's awful close. Doesn't cover him off, and Marco says, maybe I can get it back, maybe not. He keeps his wheel overlapped, and still T is able to rebuff him. Magnificent stuff between the pair.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Very close racing between the two of them. Marco looking to the inside, Andy leaving him just enough room but not giving anything away, and Andy now missed his braking spot to Rivage, or maybe taking a very precarious line. You can actually diamond that corner. When we talk about hairpin lines, you can talk about rounding out the corner, which means that the normal line, you will go to the outside, from the outside to the inside, hold on to the inside, and then get on the throttle back on the outside once again. That's the normal hairpin line. Or you can diamond the corner, which means you apex early, you actually let it slide really wide all the way to the outside of the track, which means that you're very far from the apex at the middle of the corner, and then turn it sharp in for the exit. And I wonder if that's a conscious decision by Andy T to actually diamond the corner, or if that's just a slip up. It could be either or, but at Rivage you have both of those options available.
Look at Marco still keeping him honest, holding right to the gearbox of that yellow Renault. We are only halfway through this race, by the way. There's still a ways to go here at Spa. A little bit of a peak from the Finn. Oh, I think he outbraked himself maybe a little bit going in there, or maybe he was just trying to send it in deep to get as close as he could. It doesn't hurt him too much as he stays within a car length coming down into La Source.
The problem for him is that even if he can brake later to La Source, he can't make a move due to reasons discussed earlier. So his best chances once again here, he needs a great run. He needs to hold it flat through Rouge, flat through Radion, and hope that Andy makes a mistake, and then he can maybe hold on to the draft all the way to the straight, because Marco would be a
we gotta go to our
here.
leaders. Sorry, Rina got a good run, and he's to the inside of Shimon for the first time that we've seen all race. Has a peak, but doesn't try and keep his nose down there at the apex. So, a first challenge for the top two. I think Oskari feels safe enough now that they've got that 4 seconds over Seppa is a little bit of a wide entry. There's that two different philosophies you were just talking about. They're side by side as they come down into Speaker's corner. And can he actually get it around the outside? Off the outside of Speaker's corner, Rita takes the lead.
Wow. So I think that was a bit of a mistake by Tamás, actually. I saw him looking up briefly. I don't think he would diamond that line with Oskari so close behind. I think he was trying to brake as late as possible, looking up the wheel, and as a result of that, Oskari said, "Thank you very much," got down to the inside, braved it around the outside of Jackie X's corner, or Speaker's corner, as they call it. Some people still call it the no-name corner, but those people have no education. And then Oskari Rinne just taking the lead away, and now we'll see what Oskari can do with it, because he's outside of the dirty air for the first time in this race show, and that's gonna mean Tamás will have to draft, and Oskari will have to adjust his car a little bit and adjust his driving as well, because he is suddenly having a car that handles much more neutrally, whereas before it was understeering due to that dirty air.
Remember, Rinne is fighting for the championship himself. He may be a number of points down, but he's still within the top four. And after this, we got 4 more races to go. Back to our championship leader that he's chasing. Andy T, still down in 4th, will certainly lose a number of points to the Finn as he deals with another Finn behind him, and Marco, who keeps hassling him at every single corner.
Yeah, but so far Marco's job has been staring at the gluteus maximus of Andy T and not getting a chance to overtake. He had one time he got past Andy, and then Andy just said thank you very much on the next straight and went right past him again. So, you know, Marco is now thinking here in the 5th place, probably wondering, what will I have to do? How do I break this man, and where can I find my opportunity? I think it's gonna have to come from a mistake by Andy T, just like the previous time, and then in the infield section, maybe around Pujon or somewhere around Pear, he will have a chance to create a gap.
Ooh, this time covering the inside into Rivage. Andy T doesn't even want to give him the opportunity. Now, back behind them, we were talking about Alex Millward. He's starting to gap himself away from Freesia, but Freesia's got his hands full. Villeneuve and Costa have been close behind, and I have to imagine that Costa's should have the pace to overtake both of these two. He hasn't quite yet, but you keep talking about it. I feel like mistakes are going to be the key word today.
Yeah, I think so too. The unfortunate thing for him is that ahead you got guys like Gernot Fritsche, who doesn't generally make mistakes, and Alex Milward, who does make mistakes, but he is fast enough to get away with those mistakes. And then you got Carl Villeneuve, who will be hungry to beat both of these men, and what a scope it would be for Carl Villeneuve to bring home. What a trophy. You know, if he manages to get past both Fritsche and Milward here, as once again 5th place is heating up. fourth place.
No, so here's what's interesting about this one as Marco actually sends it up the inside into the bus stop, looking to try and get through, but T is not going to let him have it. And, he's even telling him, he got on the radio and said, you're going to get a freebie down Kimmel. Or maybe he said he's going to get a freebie down Kennel. I just managed to catch part of it. Here we go again. He's going to be within the slipstream, but this hasn't worked out. What I was about to say is that Marco actually was faster off the corner than Andy coming off of Stavilo, but he lifted, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. Maybe he wasn't just, confident with it or something else was going on, but, I don't think Marco tried it into the bus stop, see if Andy would give it easy, but, he realized that he doesn't have the opportunity. I think Andy was even noting that, I'm going to get passed by anyway on the Kemmel Straight, so why are you even trying? I think, Andy is getting a little bit frustrated with attempts of Marco, in those corners. He considers it an unnecessary risk, but Marco doesn't have to hold back. Even though Andy would get passed back by on the Kemmel Straight, it doesn't mean Marco has to hold back. He can overtake him as many times as he wants. It'll just be in vain. So I can understand both of the philosophies, and maybe Marco, who has been hearing Andy very vocal on the radio all race long, is trying to frustrate the English driver, and as a result of that, maybe trying to goad Andy into a mistake.
And remember that Andy's the one that has a horse in this race with Seppo, who they're losing every time they fight. Marco does not, so he could care less how much they lose him. He just wants to finish ahead of Andy for the pride of it. Behind them, we haven't been able to cover it just because they've been calm compared to everybody else. Bycroft leads Frickton Kate. We got to see a bit of them early on in the race today, but otherwise they've just been holding station in 6th and 7th respectively.
Yeah, and that's something Bycroft will want as ahead of them. Marco once again was side by side with Andy, but that was called off pretty quickly, and Andy once again hitting the curbs in the bus stop. You don't want to do that too much. I wonder if Marco is actually going to try it into La Source this time around. If he is truly trying to get under Andy's skin, then that would be exactly what I would do in this situation. And that's you can call it trolling, you can call it whatever you want. That's a legitimate strategy. Annoying your opponent, getting them off their game, that's part of motor racing, really. And that's one of the great things you can do. If you're behind somebody, flash your headlights, wave your car from side by side, maybe fake a late braking attempt just to pull it off at the last second. All that's a fair game.
Psychological warfare, but Kayla is not able to get the run up and over the hill, unfortunately, so T is going to stay safe. I've been keeping an eye on Rinna. He's at times gotten it up to 9/10 of a second over Shimon, but has not been able to pull away. Meanwhile, after a long time of trying, Juanmi Costa gets up into 11th past Carl Villeneuve, barely holding on to the car into Lacombe.
So I don't think the tires will like that too much. I don't think the tires will like that move too much. Here we're going to see a replay of it once again. So it's going to be Juanmi Costa to the inside, into Lacombe. Villeneuve has the draft from Gernot Fletcher, but he can't brake as late as he would want. And as a result of that, Juanmi braking very late, almost getting alongside Fletcher there and getting past Carl Villeneuve. So that's now one done. Next up is not going to be so easy, Eidberger, because that's Gernot Fletcher.
Small observation, a credit to the intelligence of Gernot Fletcher. He gave space at the apex. I feel like a lesser driver would have just cut down to the natural racing line, not paying attention to Costa coming in so hot, but he made sure that both of them were able to survive that corner. With 7 laps to go, there's still plenty of racing and opportunities to pass between them. Up into 4th once again. The story of the race for much of this event has been for this 4th place battle. T keeping Marco at bay. Marco doing everything he can to get into the head of our championship leader.
He is, and he is trying to get under the skin. We have confirmation from someone within the YMCA esports organization as well. That's exactly what Marco is trying to do, as Oskari puts purple on the board, is now trying to drop Tamás Simon, but we're staying here with Kela and with Andy T. And so those guys, I don't know, Andy, well, he's gonna have his mirrors full of Marco Kela for the duration of this race, even if Marco doesn't have to clear overtaking opportunity down the straight line.
He was way off of it this time. Almost, if it wasn't for the fact that he didn't quite lose enough, I'd almost think that Marco had a bit of a slowdown penalty, but it didn't seem quite that drastic. Andy T will have a short breather after spending much of this race looking in his mirrors. Incredibly, with all of this and all this hard fighting, we've still only lost Tony Garcia. Keith Herner is 25th and last as both cars go wide. I guess as we get later on in the race, they feel like they've got enough of leeway with their incident points that they can start to take liberties.
Yeah, and Andy went even further wide. He just didn't care about the Jackie Hicks corner at all. I think if there was still a speaker there, he would have run over it with that racing line. And Marco Kela, meanwhile, faster through the horn, is getting close once again. But this is not an overtaking opportunity here. So he would have to pray and hope for a mistake, which just does not come. Look at the exit from Kela. He was loose on the entry, and then he just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna floor the throttle, I'm gonna take that off track, and I'm gonna look outside through Blanchimont, and realizing I don't have to run, and I'll have to stick behind and maybe try my luck through bus stop. Is he gonna go wide there? No, he's not, and that's a good thing, because if you go too wide through Blanchimont, and I don't mean too wide, I mean you go excessively wide, and coming back on the track after that curb, you can actually spin out very easily.
The YMCA car, it's hard to tell if it's having a good time or not, but Marco is at least trying his heart out and has been continually within about a car length up to that Renault. Behind them, it does look like at times things are getting close between Bycroft and Tenkate, but we'll stick with these two for the time being because this has been much more intense. And once again, Marco not nearly as close when he needs to be, right here up the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, but young man, there's no need to feel down. He's still gonna have his opportunities come the later portions of this race with 5 to go. And Andy has been noticeably quiet now on the radio. He's actually shut up over the radio.
Frisha is side by side with Costa. Is Wanby going to be able to get this spot? Yes, he is, up to 10th. Now, I have to admit, this is not as high as I expected him to get up. I figured that Wanby would be fighting for probably a top 5 or somewhere, considering what we found out was the reasoning for him being this far down. Still, he's going to be at least able to claim a top 10 as things are going.
Yeah, and he doesn't quite have the pace either. I'll have to see what he can do during the later portions of this race, but to be honest, his raw pace has been top 5, yeah, if with a proper qualifying, but I don't think he would have been able to challenge Oscar Rinne and Tamás Simon near the front. But that just goes to show credit to the level of this field, the level of driving ability we're seeing out here today. We're seeing drivers like Juan Costa in 10th place, Gernot Fletcher all the way down in 11th place with the number 1 on his car, 8,000 I rating and 10 some to his name, and there's still 10 guys ahead of him at this moment in time, and you can see the lap comparison between Juan Costa and Oscar Rinne there. Look at that. Oscar being faster all around. Granted, Juanmi has been stuck behind Gernot, so I'm gonna have to wait and see for a clear lap before making the decision, but right now Oscar's pace, it's just looking really exceptional today.
Yeah, he's actually got himself a second away from Shimon, so he is well and truly clear and unfazed. Those two have been running an astonishing pace. It is 5 seconds from P2 to P3. Seppa basically all on his lonesome for much of today's event. You can see our top 2 streaming down towards the braking into Lacombe. Shimon did close it back up there. He used the slipstream to get it down to 4/10, so he's keeping himself at least in the hunt, but he's got to hope for a mistake from Oscar.
Yeah, and the gap extended quickly to 0.8 of a second after Oscar made the overtake, and then it stuck there between 0.8 and a full second. And actually, last time around, despite Oscar getting the fastest lap, Tamás was faster by half a tenth, but he took an off track. He took an off track once again there, so he's being very liberal with the white lines as we are moving down the order into 15th place.
Trangarade attacking West, but West holds him at bay. And he takes that defensive line into Lacombe to retain P15. Just ahead of him, that is Shaning, who we mentioned earlier, had a little bit of contact involving Garcia. And Garcia was the one that came off the worst of the two of them, unfortunately, DNFing for today. Out of No Name, Barry West still looking at his mirrors at Trangaré. It can be called No Name. I hear big name commentators calling it that, so we'll go with that for the time being. Anyways, out of Pouon, Ove Trangaré looking for the run.
He has spun.
No. Oh, after all that hard work, was this his own doing? It was. It was all his own error.
Yeah, here we see it coming out of Fagnes and just spinning around, too anxious on the throttle on the exit. And you know, it wasn't even a slide. The rear tires kind of had grip, but the car just pointed towards the inside wall, and he lost a bit of time, and now he's stuck, sadly, behind Michael de Turk once more. Oh, deja vu.
Back exactly where he started this event, basically. And we've seen that de Turk can be a bit of a hard fighter, trying to retain his position. We're down to 3 laps to go. Let's go to that battle for P4. Old Faithful in this race. Andy T keeps 3/10 between himself and Marco. He's only got to do this for 3 more laps. Wow. And onto the brakes. This time it seemed like the number 4 car is sending it extremely deep. I almost wonder if the reverse is happening, Ozzy. Maybe this is getting into the head of Marco at this point.
I mean, it would be getting in the head of both drivers. You know, Marco has to be frustrated by not getting past Andy despite being faster, probably over the course of a clear lap, just due to the straight line speed advantage that Andy T is holding. And Andy is going to be frustrated earlier on with Marco making attempts despite it not making sense in his head, but both drivers trying very hard there. And we are hearing Juan Costa has spun again outside of your pictures. We'll get to that soon. Oh, that's outside Lacombe, and he is out.
Yeah, and this was contact. Ghost contact, I should clarify, with de Turk. And this one sent him into the barriers hard. Our second, actually 3rd DNF of the day, as we lost Armando Edwards when we went looking. I'm not sure what happened there. We'll try and see if we can dig that up a little bit later. Here is our leader, Oscar Irina, who is coming around for the penultimate lap here in just a couple corners time. Shimon now a second behind, and are we having a side-by-side? Marco down to the inside into the bus stop. He's given space at the apex. Andy T trying to launch it off the corner, but he can't get the run that Marco can. He's going to take it wheel to wheel once again, coming up to the source. Could he fake him out maybe? No. Thought maybe he'd sell him a dummy and dive it down to the inside. The first time we've seen contact between them, though.
Yeah, that is, and that's gonna start to get feisty now with Marco trying his best in these closing laps. 2 laps to go. He doesn't have too many opportunities. Here they come into a Rouge, into Rodion, and look at Gela, the speed he's getting up that hill. It's much better now, and he's gonna have the chance to maybe go alongside Andy T here. Oh, Andy blocking him a little bit, moving to the right at the straight, and then making a second move as well, and Marco's not happy about that. He's gonna hit Andy T a little bit. No, he's actually able to lock his brakes and avoid a larger contact, but this is starting to get feisty now between the 2 drivers.
Oh, yeah, I have a feeling that we'll see somewhat of a heated discussion post-race. Oh! More contact between them down through Rivage. Now they are seriously losing time, and Bycroft and Tenkate are gaining on them. Oh boy, this is going to end in tears if they keep this up.
Yeah, so Andy realized in the middle of the corner, he was taking the middle line, that he wasn't going to make the exit as well as he wants. I'll get back to that later as Marco's going to look to the outside, but no chance there. Oh, making a mistake on the braking as well. And the reason the contact was caused, that Marco was so close to the back of Andy, he couldn't react. Andy had to lift off the throttle, turn in a little bit tighter. Marco gave him a little bit of a push to the gearbox, and then they hit again at the exit of the corner. Marco lifted off the throttle toe, and Andy, I don't think he was pleased about that, but then again, you also can't really lift off the corner when the driver behind you is already accelerating out. You're just asking for trouble.
Marco looking a little bit Earnhardt-esque here, trying to rattle his cage, and Instead, we could wind up with a wreck. We're going to get the white flag for the leaders, but the camera is firmly affixed to the battle for P4 as it has gotten incredibly intense in the dying stages of round 7 for the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. Last chance for Marco Kela to try and take this 4th place away. Can he do it after 20 laps of attempting it?
I think the one place we haven't yet mentioned, well, we have talked about as an overtaking opportunity is La Source. And that's in the last lap because as we have mentioned multiple times during this broadcast, the start-finish line is after La Source. So maybe Marco can outbrake him into La Source and then drag him into that start-finish line, taking the position that way if he can't get it before. But once again, very strong under braking is Marco Kela, able to close down that gap and almost come into contact once again. Now they both have to avoid mistakes, or otherwise it might be Steve Wycroft sneaking through.
Inches between the pair of them. What's the lag like between the UK and Finland? Because they're flirting with disaster. How hard they're fighting. Car just drifting down through Speaker's Corner as Marco is just sending it, trying every single corner to see what he can do. We're not missing anything up at the front. It's a second and a half between Rita and Shimon. So no fight for the lead unless we get some sort of unusual error for the number 6 machine. This is all down to who takes 4th place as our championship leader is trying to get as many points as he can, knowing that he's already going to lose ground in the championship.
Yeah, that he is, Marco, using every inch of the track and then some. Now this is his chance. He has to get a great run into the bus stop. He has to try it, and then he has to get the overtake done into the La Source hairpin, but I don't think Andy's going to give it to him that easy.
Don't worry, I'm watching the leaders. We'll go to them as soon as we get towards the line. As they come down towards the bus stop, he's holding it way inside, going to make him go the long way around under braking. He's able to fend him off, but now we have to go to Ascarina, who is leading the way. He didn't start in the lead, but he finished there, and he's going to take victory at Spa. Shimon second, Seppo with third. But what about 4th place? Down to the inside! He bangs wheels, he forces him out of the way, and he is not lifting. He doesn't care how he took it. Marco is going to claim 4th over Andy T. The gloves have come off. And he expresses his displeasure immediately.
Okay, and then behind him, it's gonna be 6th place for Steve Wycroft. Here we see Gernot coming across the line as well. He's gonna be 10th today, a top 10 in his return. It's not a bad result in such a good field, but wow. It provided the battles, it provided the driving excellence, and it certainly provided the drama. Championship leader, not happy.
Let's take another look at that overtake. We just were able to get back in time. It's hard to say because he did get the car inside, and Andy had to have expected it.
Can we get on the board from Marco Kela?
I mean, he didn't quite make the apex. I don't know. That's a hard call for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna need another angle of that one as well. I know we're waiting for the results, but I'm gonna need another angle before judging that one. Not definitive that, but I think right now I'm leaning a little bit towards Marco's fault because he was missing the apex, but we're gonna have to see it. Okay, here we go. We are hearing another angle from behind drone cam this time around, and yeah, Marco locked up his brakes on the inside. He hit Andy T. That's on Marco. Andy could have been clever and seen that coming and go for the crossover, but I think ultimately that's Marco's fault and he should have lifted up.
Yeah, a bit naughty from him. We'll see if we can get their thoughts later. We're heading to break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel, but stick around. This should be an interesting post-race show with not only the official results, but driver interviews. Welcome back to Spa. At the start of the broadcast, we said this track tends to put on good races. I'd say it delivered today. Oscar Urena, who managed a single overtake to take the victory, really wasn't the story of things. He finished ahead of Tomas Simon, who was P2 today. And then Seferi Seppa was third. Those three really were boring compared to Marco Kela, who finished fourth, and Andy T, who finished fifth. They are very heated right now. The discussions post race had a bit of name calling being thrown back and forth. Steve Bycroft was sixth, with Freak Tenkate seventh behind them. Etuvani Okongas didn't get to cover this climb for him, from 13th on the grid to eighth in the end. Alex Millward wound up exactly where he started, ironically enough, in ninth, and Gernot Friesche finished in 10th today.
It's going to be Carl Villeneuve finishing 11th. Michael de Turk, after all that defensive driving, going to claim a great 12th place result. Uwe Trengeride coming home 13th. Dennis Channing 14th, ahead of Pekka Kelahara and Barry West. Paul J. Williams going to be 17th. Peter Konieczny 18th, with John Eddowes 19th and Lost Olsen 20th. Going to quickly run down Timothy Reed, Derek Rolwell and Keith Herner finishing on the lead lap as well, with Juan Micosta, Armando Edwards and Tony Garcia classified as did not finish.
Sad to see for them, but happy to see for Oscar Urena, who takes the victory here today and advanced himself a little bit higher in the championship after missing 2 rounds. Oscar, it looked like maybe were you holding back a little bit, or was that everything you had at the start to try and challenge on Tomas? You waited until well into the race to finally make that move.
I was giving it all in the beginning. I think that just my setup was better in the dirty air than Tomas, because I was a bit surprised that he dropped back after I overtook him. So I was giving it all the time.
Wow, that makes it all the more impressive, you stalking him as long as you did. You started second in this race, so you at least knew that there was the win on the cards. Does that mean with the drop weeks coming in soon on the points, so you're still eyeing that top spot in the championship? You think you can run down Andy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I will probably have one more drop week coming, but I think I can do it. I mean, I wasn't expecting a win here, but all the better.
Well, passing at Spa, probably a little bit easier of a proposition. You have that slipstream going on, but we're heading to Zandvoort. Do you consider that one a little bit more mission critical to try and take the pole away so that you don't wind up in that situation there?
Yeah, I think so, because I seem to miss 1 or 2 tenths in every qualifying compared to Tomas. So I need to work on that, because overtaking there is a lot harder. But it wasn't easy today, because I think Tomas had a little bit less wing, because I wasn't able to get him on the straight. So I was just trying to see if he makes a mistake, and he made that one, and I took it.
Well, congratulations on the win. Before you take off, anybody you want to thank for the victory?
Yeah, you guys for getting this great broadcast again. It's great to be back after 2 weeks, and and them as well, for he dropped me a setup there before the race, so it was pretty good.
It's a team effort, even in the virtual world. That was our winner, Oscar Urena. And up next, I believe Ozzy is going to talk to Andy T, who's hopefully had a chance to maybe have a cold shower and cool down.
Andy, championship lead coming into Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps starting in 5th place, ending up in 5th place, but you had a race-long fight with Marco Kela. Tell us about that one.
I mean, it was just a dumb thing to him to fight that early. Like, I don't understand. Like, I can easily match Severi, no problem, but I'm checking my mirror every corner because he's running high wing and can naturally drive in dirty air. And the one time he gets past me, he's absolute mincemeat down Camel. I was lifting all the way up through Eau Rouge Radion. Like, it's just, if he doesn't pressure me, we stick with Severi and who knows what happens, right? Instead, he hits me twice and then dive bombs me into the source. Like, I don't understand. What am I supposed to do? I mean, I know I defended aggressively, and like Alex has just said, what goes around comes around, because I have punted Alex before. But still, like, I'm just so annoyed.
Yeah, obviously frustrated with the result as well as the happenings of the race. Now, Severi Seppa finished on the podium. You finished in the 5th place. Do you think you can still compete for the championship even if you're lacking a bit of the qualifying pace?
Because Tamas and Oscar are going to win the championship when you take drop weeks into account. So it's not a fight between Severi and I, unfortunately. Tamas and Oscar are on another planet. They're so good.
Yeah, well, a little bit of a truth there then maybe, or at least a credit to the pace of those guys. Did it surprise you that Oscar and Tamas were able to run away so quickly?
No, I knew they'd have that pace. I've been practicing with Tamas all week, and it's Oscar. He can just come off the beach and do whatever, can't he? He's fast, little alien. So, yeah, it's always annoying to see the car drive away, but I knew I wasn't fighting for a win today.
Yeah, well, we teach them well up here. We teach them well. And any final words, any greetings you want to send? Safe for work, please.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone for the continued support, and you guys for doing the broadcast. And to Teemu, please, Teemu, take a chill pill, have a break, come back refreshed, and win another broadcast, please.
Okay, there we go. A little bit of greetings to Vaskilampi as well, who wasn't with us on the race today. And Joe, you're going to talk to a very special man next up.
Yeah, Barry West, who had a great start and then some good battles throughout the race that unfortunately we didn't get to duck down to as much. Let's start with the beginning of the race, Barry. It looked like you were in the thick of the action on that first lap.
Yeah, it was quite an enjoyable race, really, although the result wasn't as what I expected. The car just went off towards the end of the race. I should have played with the ARBs a bit more, but yeah, I thought I could hold Ove off, and we had a good battle through the Leikum and that few laps. And then I just pushing too hard to try and stay up, and then I hit the wall, I think. Lucky to get away with it. But then lost to Dennis and Pekka. The plan was to let Paul go in front to get some points because he's had a terrible week and he's a teammate. So I thought better points for him. So I slowed up to the line and I thought he slowed up. And then I don't know if we'd gone over the line and I thought there's John Eddowes coming up behind. So I accelerated and I took the place back again.
Sort of a Schumacher Barrichello situation going on there. But
apologies to Paul for that.
So you mentioned that you had a little bit of contact with the wall there. You know, we often back then we heard a lot of talk about in the real world the Lotus 79 was a bit fragile. A lot of Lotus cars were. What about here in the sim? I mean, how much can you get away with that contact? Is there can you kind of, if you hit it broadside, does it stay pretty whole?
It's funny if sometimes if somebody catches your wheel right, it can wreck your suspension. But then other times you can. I mean, the race before. I went in the back of Irwin and it wrecked my front wing and put him out of the race, unfortunately. But then I lost like quite a few miles an hour on the straight, but it was okay in the corners. It's funny because it didn't seem to lose much downforce. But yeah, I mean, I was lucky when I hit the wall because it was more of a glancing blow, and I just managed to just brush along it really. So I haven't looked at lap times. I'll see what I have a review of the incident yet, but. Yeah, I was lucky, I think.
Well, sorry we didn't get to show you a little bit more, but glad we were able to catch up and get an update on how your race went. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
I'd like to thank the team because we've all been working on setups and it's usually Peter's in front and I'm behind and Paul's in between, but just one of those unfortunate races. But yeah, the team is really making an effort now, so hopefully we'll crawl out the table a bit more.
Well,
thank you guys.
Oh, thank you very much, Barry. That was Barry West, who came home today with 16th place, where he started, but still had some fun along the way. We're going to close out with a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, but also a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Along with them is June Lalonde, who provides our music. If you'd like to check it out, there is the link to Bandcamp right there. And also thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or subscribe to our various social media. Twitter is at GSR Channel. Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. We've got a merchandise store linked in the description below at gsrc.storenvy.com, and make sure and subscribe to the channel while you're down there, because you should see that subscribe button right in the middle in your face. Next race is going to be at Zandvoort. That'll be Sunday, November 8th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including coming up next in just a couple hours' time. It's Big C's MX5 Challenge going to Road America. That'll be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.